I was going to ask. Thank you. Oh, I didn't realize moving Kamalika there meant I had no company. Distinguished guests, members of faculty, and my dear friends, welcome to the second day of Conventus 2019, the annual management conclave of International Management Institute, New Delhi. I, Neha, along with my fellow compare, Arushi, will take you through this session of the Human Resources Club of IMI. This year, Conventus is structured around the theme Industry 4.0, honoring the past, treasuring the present, shaping the future. Industry 4.0 represents a major transformation in the way businesses approach manufacturing. This fourth industrial revolution has already impacted the human resources requirements of many businesses through automation. Similarly, the exchange of data among disparate systems has dramatically enhanced efficiency and decision-making processes. As we grapple with this intervention of the human resources industry, we must deal with employers, employees, and peers who are also experiencing upheaval in their professional lives. As we become more proficient in pairing organizations with appropriate human resources, we will become instrumental in reducing recruiting costs. In other words, HR 4.0 gives an opportunity to create sustainable competitive advantages for businesses and their employees. Before we proceed further into the session, let us have a look at the Conventus video.
Previous industrial revolutions liberated us from animal power, made mass production possible, and brought digital capabilities to billions of people. The fourth industrial revolution, however, is radically different. Today we have technologies fusing together physical, digital, and biological parts. Intelligent robots, self-driving cars, virtual reality augmentation. The evidence of dramatic change is all around us, happening at exponential speed.
Yeah, I think you need to replay. Doesn't matter. And play it with a lesser volume. Reduce the volume. Yeah.
Previous industrial revolutions liberated us from animal power, made mass production possible, and brought digital capabilities to billions of people. The fourth industrial revolution, however, is radically different. Today we have technologies fusing together physical, digital, and biological parts. Intelligent robots, self-driving cars, virtual reality augmentation. The evidence of dramatic change is all around us, happening at exponential speed. We are at the brink of a revolution that will change fundamentally the way we live, work, and see the world. So what does the future hold? Let's dive in.
In the light of the main theme of Conventus 2019, the Human Resources Club wishes to discuss talent management in Industry 4.0, the rise of a new era. To share with us their valuable insights on this topic, we are honored to have amongst us 7 senior corporate executives: Mr. Siddharth Tuli, Ms. Shruti Jaiswal, Mr. Rajiv Bhadoria, Mr. Vikas Khoka, Ms. Kamalika Deka, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Tripathi, and Mr. Akshay Mathur.
Before we begin with the session, we would like to give a brief introduction of our speakers. We are delighted to introduce you all to Mr. Siddharth Tuli, CEO, People Sculptors. Mr. Tuli is a certified leadership coach, soft skills facilitator, and certified organization development consultant. He is the founder and CEO of People Sculptors, a company devoted to enhancing individual performance and supporting people and teams to achieve their full potential. His forte is advising enterprises in building leadership teams achieve their full potential, fostering collaborations, managing challenge, and facilitating behavioral areas like personal effectiveness, empowerment, and enhancing innovation. Mr. Tuli is an experienced human resource professional who has worked in leadership positions for major Indian and multinational organizations across a range of industries such as fast-moving consumer goods, oil and gas, cement, and infrastructure. In his various assignments, he has worked with diverse organizations such as Unilever, Reckitt Kaiser, Punch Lloyd, Heidelberg Cement, and L&T. He has participated in major HR transformation exercises and seeks to align HR strategy with business priorities to build individual and organizational capabilities. Sir, we feel privileged to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to please felicitate Mr. Siddharth Tuli with a sapling as a part of IMI's Go Green initiative. We welcome you, sir.
Our next panelist for the session is Ms. Shruti Jaiswal, Head Talent and Development, Refinitiv. Ms. Jaiswal was recently awarded Times Power Woman Emerging Thought Leader by the Times of India and Top 40 Under 40 HR Leaders in India. She is a recognized thought leader in the field of leadership and talent, associated with HR field for nearly 17 years with multinationals like Thomson Reuters, Intel, Ericent, Genpact, and Tata Teleservices. Ms. Jaiswal is a neuroscience results certified coach and a published author of the book Does Your Network? Outside of her corporate job, she is an active external speaker, writer, and a panelist at many renowned forums like TEDx, Grace Hopper, World HRD, as well as a mentor to many aspiring professionals. Outside of her corporate job, Ms. Jaiswal has also received other accolades such as the award Top 101 Training and Development Minds in India by World HRD Congress as a reflection of her professional achievements. She also achieved the Talent and Development Leader of the Year 2019 award by Transformance. Ma'am, we feel privileged to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to please felicitate Ms. Shruti Jaiswal with a sapling.
And one important thing you forgot to mention, alumnus IMI.
Absolutely. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. It is a privilege to introduce Mr. Rajiv Bhadoria, Managing Partner, Ebullient. Mr. Rajiv Bhadoria has an experience of working with big and complex corporates like NTPC, BSES, and Reliance ADA Group. He was working with Jindal Steel and Power Limited till January 2019 as a member of the senior leadership team for over 2 decades. Currently, Mr. Bhadoria is a managing partner at Ebullient. Mr. Bhadoria has an exposure of 15 years working for public limited companies such as NTPC and BSES, and a further 15 years experience working for promoter-led professional large enterprises such as Reliance ADA Group and Jindal Steel. He has been a part of various diverse industries such as power, steel, infrastructure, entertainment, telecom, and health. Various initiatives related to HR domain, particularly in the L&OD stream, carried out under his leadership, have received national and international recognition and rewards, both at Reliance and also at Jindal Steel. In brief, his special competence is to lead organizational governance and leadership exploration and development, exemplified with agility to handle business turbulence in the post-Lehman times. Sir, we feel privileged to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to kindly felicitate Mr. Rajiv Badhuria with the sapling. We welcome you, sir.
It gives me great honor to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Vikas Khokha, Director, Human Resources, Zimmer Biomet India. Mr. Khokha has an experience of 20 years in human resources, along with the line function, with an exposure to multiple industries like office automation, telecommunications, and healthcare. As a business HR leader, he has managed large transformation projects at Bharti Airtel and has also handled an acquisition at Zimmer. He was appointed as a speaker at the MICE forums, focusing on employee productivity and requirement from the MICE events in order to be cost effective. He has delivered modules like HR Getting Closer to Business in premier management institutes in India like IIM Ahmedabad, XLRI, MDI, and IIM Calcutta. He has been awarded the HR Excellence Award in 2015 for the HR Best Practices in Healthcare Industry in India. He has led discussion panels in various summits regarding future ways of working and best workplace practices in India. Sir, we are happy to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to please felicitate Mr. Vikas Khokha with a sapling. We welcome you, sir.
It gives me great honor to introduce our next panelist, Ms. Kamalika Deka, Regional Head HR North, Domino's. Ms. Deka is currently working as a Regional Head of HR for Domino's, Jubilant Foodworks Limited. She has more than 12 years of work experience as an HR professional. Ms. Deka has experience in diversified retail industries like healthcare, jewelry, watches, eyewear, and also in food retail. Prior to Domino's, she has worked with reputed organizations like Titan Company Limited and Apollo Hospitals Enterprises Limited. Ms. Deka is very passionate about gender diversity and inclusion at workplace. She has been invited by premier institutes of India for guest lectures, as a panelist for summits, and as a TEDx speaker in IIMs and IITs. Ma'am, we are happy to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to kindly felicitate Ms. Kamalika Deka with a sapling. We welcome you, ma'am.
It's an honor and privilege to introduce Mr. Rajesh Tripathi, Head HR, Learning and Development, National Small Industries Corporation Limited. Mr. Rajesh Kumar Tripathi is currently heading Human Resource and Learning Development functions at National Small Industries Corporation Limited, a mini Ratna public sector enterprise under the administrative control of the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Government of India. He is a postgraduate in Human Resource Management and a graduate in Economics, Industrial Relations, both from the University of Lucknow. He has a rich experience of over 23 years in the field of human resource, industrial relations, and learning and development. In his tenure, he has been associated with organizations such as Tata Power, GMR Energy, Bajaj Power, and India Tourism Development Corporation in various capacities. In addition, he also holds a certificate in TBEM and Thomas Profiling. Sir, we are happy to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to please felicitate him with a sapling. We welcome you, sir.
Last but not the least, it's an honor and privilege to present in front of you Mr. Akash Mathur, Head Talent Acquisition. Mr. Akshay Mathur, Head Talent Acquisition, S&P Global. Mr. Akshay is the Head of Talent Acquisition for S&P Global in the Global Center region, India, Pakistan, and the Philippines. He's an active career coach and a volunteer in the area of human potential assessment and skill development for improving industry-academy relationship to enhance student employability. He strongly believes in diversity and inclusion, which includes diverse talents, thoughts, cultures, backgrounds, and capabilities. He also believes in supporting female students to take up STEM as an academic curriculum that involves science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. He also believes in supporting women in returning back to the workforce. He has significant experience and specialties in various diverse fields, such as talent acquisition strategy and implementation, staffing function build-out, talent management, coaching, workforce planning, learning and development, university relations, recruitment, branding, strategies, workforce planning, performance management, and competency-based selection. So we are happy to have you here with us today. May I request Mr. Akash Nagpal to kindly felicitate Mr. Akshay Mathur with a sapling. We welcome you, sir. To set the tone of today's session, I would now like to call upon my friends Ayush Sharma, first-year PGTM program student, and Sachi Gupta, first-year PGTM HR program student, to share the students' perspective and make a brief presentation along with a video on the session.
Rene West once said, "You can have the best strategy and the best building in this world, but you do not have the hearts and the minds of people who work with you, none of it comes to life." Good evening, everyone. I, Sachi Gupta, and my co-compare Ayush Sharma welcome you all to the HR Summit. This year, HR Summit is based on the topic Talent Management in Industry 4.0, Rise of a New Era. Before we proceed further, we have a short video for all of you.
To become true partners to the business and enable enterprise-wide digital transformation, HR leaders must act quickly to develop modern capabilities that drive business outcomes. Innovation in HR is everywhere, but to keep up with the dynamic HR technology and services market, organizations are finding they need to develop new ways to adopt and optimize their investments in support of their objectives. Participants paint a picture of the typical journey toward maturity in HR technology. As organizations evolve their HR capabilities, they move toward a full software-as-a-service solution. They experience an increasing degree of digital adoption, greater use of emerging technologies, and the benefits of optimized processes and strategic business insights that feed critical decision-making and drive business outcomes.
These days, organizations are looking forward to harness Industry 4.0 by making significant investments in capabilities. These capabilities are required to leverage the opportunities that the digital platform must offer. There is a rapid implementation of agile, intelligent, automated platforms, advanced analytics, and cloud computing. Increase in this agile environment like Internet of Things, is profoundly changing business, enabling superior customer experience and value. In addition to technological investments, enterprises are also reimagining internal structures for increased value and enhanced customer experience.
Impacted by this phenomenon, HR 4.0 has risen, gradually inching its way into the day-to-day managements of every organization across the globe. This has particularly started affecting the way HR departments attract, manage, and develop talents. As technology is constantly changing, businesses must be quick to adapt or risk being left behind in the dust by their competitors. There have been some certain recurring challenges that the HR department of most organizations currently face. These challenges the business face are getting their employees to embrace innovation, learning new technology, and being the agent of change in their goals. Lack of relevant skills and their optimum acquisition techniques is one of the biggest hurdles industry face in today's world. The need of agile talent management and inculcation of optimum acquisition techniques has become one of the major tasks to keep up with the ever-changing technology. Along with the technological advancements, job satisfaction and role matching has become the true core competency of any performing industry. The emergence of Industry 4.0 has changed the organizational demands for skill, effective talent, skill building, and deployment. Hence, it is important for any organization to have a very effective and accurate talent recognition method.
Some innovative advantage that Industry 4.0 brings for the HR department is gamification of human resource activities, talent analytics, enhanced talent management, and many more. The new employer-friendly techniques work on the candidate engagement and improve hiring outcomes. Talent analytics generate insights both at the macro and micro levels. Companies can use these insights to optimize everything from recruitment, engagement efforts, to talent performance. Enhanced talent management is a digital integrated methodology that offers enhanced recruitment features. Such methods are very engrossing and can also be used for talent acquisition along with talent development for an employee, keeping them motivated and ever ready to acquire new competencies. With proper implementation, talent analytics can also be used to predict skill demand and anticipate labor trends, which enables organizations to create viable long-term workforce strategies.
Industry 4.0 has impacted the world of work, most of which is still to be understood in its entirety. The changes Industry 4.0 brings to human resources is unfathomable. Some of the key benefits that can be realized through an integrated and collaborative talent management system are enhanced learning, better employee engagement, optimized effort, improved fulfillment of internal demands, and optimum hiring. With the advent of technology, the existence of internet has become a crucial linchpin in our life, penetrating deep into our daily needs, be it personal or professional. The future is thought to have an even more intense confluence of human and technology. Therefore, companies must now set the course and raise their talent management to the next level. Organizations that proactively and dynamically harness these newer concepts are poised to lead the Industry 4.0 transformation, especially from the human resource management point of view. So without further ado, let's dive deep into HR 4.0. May we request Mr. Siddharth Tulli, the moderator of this session, to please take over.
Change the slides. Can I have the control in my hand? Thank you. I always like to have the control in my hand. Good afternoon. And it's always a pleasure to come back to this illustrious room with such bright, willing to learn students. It's my second visit this year. Management gurus and management students like you have a penchant for numeralizing industry trends, okay? For example, I am a change management expert. There's a very famous book which has now come out. It's called Change Management 2.0, okay? After Change Management 1.0. Daniel Pink, the famous author of the book Drive and Now When, in his book writes about motivation 1.0, motivation 2.0, and motivation 3.0. And here you are, the bright young MBA students. You have HR Tech 1, HR Tech 2, HR Tech 3, HR Tech 4, and God knows next year could be 5 or 7. And similarly, you have now numeralize it for Industry 4.0. But I think, having said that, I think there is a logic to what you have written, and I'm going to quickly summarize. Actually, a large part of my opening remarks has been done by the two very bright students, and I'm going to cover that pretty fast and just talk about coming to the fourth industrial revolution. What I'm saying is that the first industrial revolution was a James Watson, the steam engines of the world and harnessing of water and power. And then came the industrial 2 revolution, which was the electricity, the Henry Fords, the assembly lines. That was industry 2.0. And then the industry 3.0, which was the automation of the industry and the beginning of the digitization and the computerization. And now we have the industry 4.0, which is the interconnection of the computers, so that much of the probably over the time, much of the decisions which human beings take would probably be taken over by this interconnected connections between computers. And then, as the video showed, the IoT, big data, artificial intelligence, interconnected supply chains are all manifestations of industrial 4.0. What's the point I want to draw with this very, very illustrious panel today? All I want the panel to discuss is both the sides of the pendulum, okay? While you cannot deny that with the coming of Industry 4.0, with the interconnection of computers, with the robotics, with the IoTs, you can have better decision making, okay? You can have a much more detailed insight. You can make better predictions. You can move from description to prediction to prescription, right? That's the journey of the analytics. Your automation of jobs can save you from the drudgery of many of the jobs that you do. So these are the upsides. These are very well clearly known, and the panel would talk about their experience. But I also want the panel to talk about the underbelly of the Industry 4.0. What about the unemployment? What about the personal data privacy? What about the human psychological engineering? This discussion would be incomplete if we do not look at both the sides carefully. So, for example, my niece just went to Beijing, and she said that in this hotel, everything is robotized. If you want to make a cocktail, you can see the robotized arm. The robotized arm on the bar will prepare any cocktail for you. The entire check-in process, right from the moment you step in till the time you get into your room, your check-in, your opening of the lift, the robot takes you to your room and guides you to the room. So that's one side of the kind of ecosystem that we are beginning to live. But there is a darker side, okay? Data is the new oil. When I was your age, the best companies were the BPs, the Shells, Exxon. These were the oil majors in the world. Today, the biggest companies are Apple, Google, Microsoft, and data has become the new oil. And we are seeing that there is, for example, the data leakage of 230 million voters, 500 data points of each of the American voters Cambridge Analytica had got, and that was kind of misused by the politicians in kind of brainwashing the minds of these millions of Americans, and that had an impact on the American politics. And if you see this beautiful documentary, The Great Hack on Netflix, it documents the kind of things, if data privacy is not regulated, the kind of harm that it could do, and it documents how how you could brainwash innocent people through fake news. So these are the two aspects. And of course, the danger is that would the artificial intelligence one day take over the human intelligence? Are you concerned about the increase in artificial intelligence? And the guy says, no, I'm not concerned about it, but I'm concerned about the decrease in real intelligence. So what are we going to discuss? We're going to ponder over the following issues, a broad guideline for the panel. What are the implications of the adoption of practices on the people management? What about, is there going to be any change in the way leadership manifests itself? Is there going to be change in the way culture manifests itself? The system, the structure of the organization? What did I do? Okay. Okay, then what are the structural shifts? Are the organizations going to move towards greater collaboration? How do organizations make this change happen? I'm a change management expert, and I'm struggling on digital transformation with many of the government organizations. So how do you make this major change happen? Let's spend a little time on that. And what initiatives have you identified in your individual organizations? And lastly, what are the downsides for the industry, for the things that I just pointed out about data privacy, about loss of unemployment, and manipulation of human behavior? This is a very illustrious panel, and you're going to have a great time. I have requested them to be brief and crisp, and we will give you about 30 minutes for questions. So be ready with your questions at the end of the session. So over to the panel. May I go in the anti-clockwise? Maybe I start with the lady, Kamalika. You could make your opening remarks. Thank you. And remember, the time limit is 5. It didn't apply to me, obviously.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the HR Club of IMI Delhi for inviting me to this conclave. I'm deeply honored to be part of this conclave. Thank you so much. So before we talk about what I have read in books about Henry Ford and all, I would quote my own example of what the changes I have seen 12 years before when I started my career from my campus. When I used to go to office, there used to be a time office, and there used to be one person, his name was Ramana. So my morning in the office is to start by greeting a smile to Ramana, and he used to greet me. And trust me, his greeting always made my day. The way he used to greet me used to make my day. There used to be an attendance register. I had to sign in. While I'm leaving, I had to sign out. If I had to take leave, I had to approach, there used to be a leave card where I had to approach my boss and I have to ask him to sign on those leave cards. But today, after 12 years, I don't know what is a leave card all about. It's everything on my mobile. If I have to apply for leave, I have my leave application app. I go there, I apply. I don't have to follow up with my job, with my boss to approve my leave. Everything has been automated. So this is the change which I have seen in my career of 12 years. What was time office? And I don't know what is the job of Ramana today. Is there really a time office in my previous organization? I don't know about it. Because everything has become a biometric now. Everything has become system oriented. So with this disruption of technology, now this is a very, the word where everyone talks about, FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, FANG. So what we are saying with the disruption of technology, companies are becoming boundaryless. If I talk about Netflix, a very popular among all of us, Netflix has got some around 148 million customers. And they have around 74 million customized products, which relates with the customer. Google, is it a search engine? Now Google is talking about a driverless car. Amazon, is it a platform for buyers or sellers, or it is a delivery company? Because today I'm ordering something through Amazon Prime. It'll be delivered by today evening. So is it a platform for buyers or sellers, or it is a delivery company? So with this disruption of technology, with this digital world, companies are becoming boundaryless. It is the war for talent. Earlier in the analog world, people used to go where jobs are available. But in this digital world, companies goes where talents are available. It is all about experience. The way we talk about customer experience. And accordingly, the companies also need to ensure about employee experience because it is the war for talent. We will have to retain the talent. Otherwise, it is very difficult. With the growth of the company, the employees will also have to grow. In this gig economy, it says that by 2025, 50% of our workforce would be contingent workforce. Now, when we are talking if 50% of our workforce would be a contingent workforce, then what would happen? How do we really manage the talent? Will they really be, very loyal to the organization? Can the organization really take the best out of that? On the other side, we are taking companies are becoming boundaryless. It is all about experience. So it is high time for the organization that they invest on the employees. It is high time for the organization that they concentrate on talent management. Because with disruption of technology in this digital era, companies are becoming boundaryless. It is the war for the talent. Hence, it is a high time for the organization that they move out from the hierarchical structure and they become a flat hierarchical structure where every employees are being given the opportunity to grow, to enhance the skills and competences. So with this, I open this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sticking to your. For sticking to your time limit. So my takeaway from what you said was that with the disruption of technology, with the coming digitization, the companies are becoming boundaryless. Fantastic. Thank you, Kamalika, for that very quick and crisp introduction. Akshay, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So next on the stage is on the opening remarks is Akshay.
Thank you. And I would say Mr. Tuli is actually a Scrum Master, and he's going to run in a very agile environment this whole conversation. And that would be my opening remark. I think, the way of work, if you talk about, I think plethora of conversations, whether today on the video, there's so much of read. I think all of us are talking about it. And there's a point in time which comes when you feel that, is it really true that's going to happen? And I would say it's happening. It has already hit the shores, and many of us have already started preparing for it, but many of us are still thinking about it. So I think what's important is that to procrastinate what's the future of work or the future of organizations they look like. But importantly, I think as long as you are nimble, agile enough, I think that's the way to go. Personalization for organizations is very important. I think you as an employee or a prospective employee as a talent, as long as you have that competency, the skill, which is very, which makes you different from the other, would really help you to really go and gallop in your future of work. I think there's no question about it. It's something like in the morning today, I had to go to my barber for a, to come here to prepare myself for it. And I called him, I said, I want to see you. He said, yeah, do come, but I've changed my job and now I'm working for this particular salon. So the point I'm trying to make is that the skill is what makes him what he is, not the place he was working. And I think that's true for all of us and all of you in the times to come. And I think you need to keep that in mind. Agility, openness to learning, upskilling, relearning, unlearning. I think as long as you're open to be a lifelong learner or a student, I know it doesn't resonate very well. You'll say that it's 2 years of education, then again, the expectation is that I still need to learn and go through the grind. I think all of us have to do that. I'm doing this at this age and I'm going to continue to do that. So I think that makes us relevant and irrelevant, so to say. So it's a choice is yours. But from an organization standpoint, I think, what I'm trying to say through just a single deck, and it's not comprehensive. It's like few things which I feel very passionate about it, and I feel they are game changers, and they also resonate well with what we're trying to do within our organization. So I think it has to be people first approach, and it will always be that. Gone are the days of a process based approach, which a lot of organizations followed through. again, hiring is more based on, as I said, the softer sides of it. Experience and skill, what you have today, the requirement may change tomorrow. So I think, as I said, learnability and agility is more important than anything else. I'm looking at the time and Mr. Tuli's clock, so I'll just make it a little quick.
Mortal fear.
I think the way of work is changing. As she said, that it's about gig economy, it is about contract working, it's about remote working, right? So it's very important how we're going to keep the employee engaged, because it's not about recruiting and the more better way of recruiting and people, the right talent, but also about keeping the people happy. So there's a lot of focus on the organizations to do that today. And when there's so much of change, we need people who are the change agents, who are digital natives like you, who are savvy enough, high in communication skills, who empathize. And I think they are the kind of people who organizations will look for to be the agent of change. So I think that's important. On the other side, if I feel, as an HR organization, I think I don't call myself an HR person. I come from business and I moved into an HR role for the last couple of years. And I was just, pre-conversation I was having, you said, I've done myself an RPA certification just a few months ago, because I want to be understanding what my clientele, which is my people, expect and what they are going through that. So I think for me, I need to do the walk the talk. So I think that's something which I think a big shift is happening, where all of us talk about, okay, HR needs a seat on the table. It's about, if HR talks about numbers, talks about strategy, I think you'll get the seat on the table. And that's where things like people analytics come a big way. A data-driven, a fact-based approach is something which organizations are employing. We are doing it a lot to ensure we are hiring the right person at the right time for the right role. And not just for today, but for tomorrow. And employee experience, she talked about it. It's again, doesn't come naturally, it has to be orchestrated. It's like, stepping into a 5-star hotel and you feel so nice about it. You feel so good. Organizations need to ensure that they orchestrate in an environment which makes you feel nice about yourself and the place you are. Otherwise, they're going to lose you. So I think that's another focus areas which, the industry 4.0, as we call, has to bring on. And HR technology, I think, again, it's a huge market in itself. And I'm a big follower of George Bershon. I don't know how much you hear him, but I think there's so much, but it's all about integration, using technology, not for the heck of it, but for using it. So it's a combination which one has to follow, high touch and tech. So, rather than running pure, tech, which is fad, but has to be very, with a human touch. And I think that's where cognitive intelligence and, would come into play. And that closes my remark, but that's what it is. And being agile, I think one has to be an agile practitioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Akshay, I really like that coinage of yours towards the end, that the industry 4.0 would demand a transformation from high tech to high touch. Okay? Unless you have a high touch, unless you have a concern for people where agility and openness of learning are the competencies which are more respective, we will not be able to make Industry 4.0 a success. All right, thank you very much. It was fantastic. We'll have the voice of wisdom at the last. Okay, we'll jump to Vikas next. So if you can make your opening remarks, Vikas.
Thanks, Siddharth. As this topic came in, it became so relevant. We are actually world's largest artificial joint manufacturer, right? All our body joints are manufactured by us worldwide. Now, we have recently developed an artificial robot who will be able to conduct the surgery, right, in guidance of a surgeon inside the operation theater. So this robot is going to be operational very soon. Now, my point came in from a relevance perspective. I really saw the relevance of the topic from the perspective that, just imagine a body is being treated by a robot, right? That's, And last I was in Singapore last month. I was staying in a hotel where I ordered something in the night, and a robot comes and delivers to me in my room. Without any human intervention, I had a bell on my phone that somebody's waiting, and I opened, and there's a robot who delivers the stuff to me and walks out. you know. So when I looked at that, and when I look at the surgeries being conducted by a surgeon, I think HR, human resource, is never a function which is separate, you know. And I see primarily whether it is knowledge, competence, performance, right? It is same. The expectation is same. It is not going to change. What is changing is the objectives. And I clearly see, you know, when I see today in my workforce, I see that how much innovation that workforce brings in, you know, what change they would like to make in, which is happening today, you know, how much of, you know, future they are going to look at. That is something which is a very critical component for me. How much of my future strategy they are imbibing. You know, my business strategy, which is next 5 years business strategy, has to be imbibed by the people that are carrying. You know, that is something I'm, and also, you know, you look at challenges like, if you want to retain somebody, you need to develop and grow that person today in today's environment. Unless that person understands what is future, it's very difficult for you to retain. So for me, the challenge today really asked me to retain a good talent. You know, that's my challenge. And for me to retain a talent, I need to work on the future. Now, if I look at few of the things, you know, typically talking of, you know, skill gaps today. A person who's skilled today is not skilled for future. That's the gap. The skill gap I need to cover for the person to develop and grow and engage with me so that I can retain him. Then secondly, you know, I talked of business strategy, performance management and rewards. How well they are attuned to something which is in future, and how much I'm talking of present and past, you know. And then I'm also talking of middle management role today, right? When I look at my middle management, it's a bridge between top management and the larger workforce of the organization, right? What is the role of that? Am I going to redefine that role, right? So that is something. Then obviously talent management philosophy today cannot be stagnant. Now, I was in US last year. I spent a good amount of time at Wharton, and I could understand from various industries who are working worldwide, 20% of workforce is going to get redundant next year. By next year, right? That's what I see the stats. And what happens is, all this workforce is not going to lose jobs, but they're going to be a lot of entrepreneurs and partners. So your talent management philosophy has to create entrepreneurs, right? So we are working on creating entrepreneurs in organization by getting them skilled so that they can take over some of the component of our business and take an independent ownership, right? So that's what I quickly talk about. I talked of robotics. I talk of all my managers today. When I hire, you know, develop and retain them, are they attuned to technology or not? Basics of those, you know, basic requests which come to HR, right? Those basic transaction requests, all going to go off. A manager is completely equipped with all database of their teams, right? Not supposed to send requests. They should be attuned to technology so much that they have on the tip of the button every access to all the information. We talk of KPIs. KPI is going to change. You know, it has to be future KPIs. Accordingly, the competency matrix to measure those KPIs also has to be futuristic. Basis your future goals. So that's where the change is coming in. Then we look at how do we reward? We measure. We measure people on strategic projects. Projects which are defined on timelines with a clear definition of start to end. We talk of pilot testing, you know. We start measuring people's performance on pilot testing. We reward people on failures. How many people innovate and fail? Not necessarily people on success. Then we talk of, you know, basically rewarding people on creating change. Who are change champions? You mentioned you are you have done a lot of work around change management. So change management has to be executed well by change champions. So if I highlight, these are the areas that we started looking at it, and it's a journey which is starting, you know, for us. Healthcare industry, I would say that has been little lagging behind compared to Googles and Apples of the world. But yes, we have started looking at it, and I think this is a huge road to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic. I'm not sure if I'm yet ready for a robotic surgery, because Okay. All right. So I think you made a very good point about the future strategy being imbibed by the people, and the trick of talent managing the talent of tomorrow would be to convert them into entrepreneurs so that they have a sense of control, they have a sense of meaning of what they want to do. Fantastic. Thank you very much. You overstated by a little minute, but all that you talked was a great sense. Yes, madam. We're all, Shruti, anxiously waiting to listen to what you have to say. Oh, that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, technology takes time. Okay. It's working. A week back, so I'm part of this HR group, and now you communicate on WhatsApp, so information comes, like, you have it in your hand. So any news that comes out in the market, even before you touch the newspaper, it's on WhatsApp. An article floated in a WhatsApp group, all HR leaders, so it's just an HR group, and the article floated which said, Decathlon, one of the Decathlon units in India, they decided to not have an HR team at all. They removed it completely. And that article created so much of worry, question, debate in our group. And people started saying, oh, these people don't understand, HR is so much needed. And then somebody from Genpact said, I really love my role, my company, because they value HR so much. And the rest of the HR people, Decathlon, they just don't understand the need for compliance, the role that HRs play, etc., the business value that HR adds. I wanted to comment on that group and I did not, because I disagreed with everything that was being said, honestly. Because I think that discussion got spurred primarily with the fear that with all that is happening, will HR lose their jobs? Will HR have a job in the future or not? And I don't know we can answer that question right now, whatever data we read in, but that's not something we can answer right away. But I think the question is not whether we will lose our jobs or not. Jobs have been changing year on year. This trend is not new. The nature of work has changed with every industry, 1.0, 2.0, pick any version, it has been changing. I think the question is, are we preparing ourselves? Are we keeping our eyes and ears open to what the trend is looking like? And are we okay? And I think one of the beautiful points that was made around learning and agility, are we staying open to not sticking to one way of thinking about learning and open to trying new areas if the need arises? Are we okay with that? Do we see where the trend is going? Do we see where the market is going? For example, if you look at in that HR discussion when the messages were happening, if you look at the number of tech companies that have opened simply in HR space, the amount of work that HR does in companies, those companies are ready to just take on all of that work. I mean, 60% of that work, those companies can take on, which means corporates can literally outsource it to those machines. And the point is that as much as we were debating and discussing about whether we'll have jobs or not, and we think we have our jobs comfortable, which we were trying to defend, we have great job, which means HR is valued, maybe today we are valued, maybe for some more time, but will it stay like that for the future? I don't think we're sure. We are busy, we have hefty good designations, we are doing well, company pays us well, stable salary, we are happy, everything is great. Yes, maybe today. Guess what? Machines don't wait. Machines don't watch Netflix either. We are losing a lot of time going in that. There are two trends I want to highlight with that. Two key trends. There are multiple things, and a lot has been covered here. Just two key trends, and that would take me another 30 seconds, and we should get some time back. As a two key trends, one is, and for the sake of recall, I'll call it tech for non-tech. In the past, we've always pushed technologists. Hey, you need to have the softer skills. You need to build some sort of management skills. So even if you look at corporate companies, we create a lot of programs for technologists to learn the management side, professional skills, etc. But we never had the need as much to prepare managers with the technology skills, the other way around. That need is here. I, as an HR person, I need to know technology. I need to know what artificial intelligence is, what it can do. In fact, I've been spending a lot of time on I've been exploring some articles and some tools, some apps. I've been talking to a lot of external companies to simply understand the possibility that artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, they can all create an HR space. I need to know that. I'm not there yet. But technology is not just for tech anymore. Non-tech people need to understand it. You don't need to code, but you need to know what the codes can offer. That's one. Number two, the way we think about careers today is changing. And this point I'm making particularly because the stage that you're in, you will think about placements. And if you're thinking about, let's say, I'll be the HR head tomorrow. I was discussing this with one of the batches yesterday. If you think tomorrow that I aspire to be the HR head in XYZ company, I aspire to be this designation, this director, I think Kamalika made a beautiful point around hierarchies, the need for hierarchies to become flat, because the need of Industry 4.0 is to create a transparent way of communication. We can't be communicating this slow the way the hierarchy does. So if you've been thinking about a career progression, for example, as a vertical ladder, it's already changing. My function is doing that work. I'm doing this in my company. Other companies I've worked with have done this and they're doing this. I've done this in other companies too. Talent is no more about a ladder progression. It is shifting to a lattice or a climbing wall. You know what a climbing wall is? How do you climb a wall? Don't you go to those play arena kind of places? You climb a climbing wall, which means you go upwards, sideways, downside. That's a climbing wall. And that's what the careers would look like in the future. Contingent workforce, the way a contingent workforce works, that's what the future would look like. How long, we don't know. But for some years to come, that's the trend. The ladder is no more there. So tech for non-tech, remember, and think differently about career progression. Those two things I want to leave you with.
Wonderful. Machines don't watch Netflix, do they? Right. I really like the last two trends that you said, that we have been teaching engineers behavioral skills and soft skills. I think the time is ripe for teaching non-tech managers some technical skills, and careers are no more ladders, they are lattices. We'll come back to this point when we open the group for discussion. Thank you very much, and over to you, Rajesh.
Thank you. A very good evening to all of you. So, as we had many examples from our colleagues, I was just wondering that in case what Vikas told, that nowadays robots are doing the surgery. So, by chance, by accident, if the patient is changed, he will have to undergo the knee surgery. He cannot escape because the robot will not distinguish whether you are Mr. X or Mr. Y. So, friends, I mean, we are talking, I will just share you a very small example about the change in technology and the way we are living our life. We recently had this Fire Stick. It's coming in every house. We are just shifting from all the dish TV and all that. So just watching a program, and suddenly something came to my mind, and I said, Alexa, shut up. I was surprised that TV just stopped, and sound came, and thought it must have felt bad. Then I said, Alexa, I'm sorry. Then said, it's okay. Then I said, please switch off the TV. And it obeyed. So somehow you can see, the artificial intelligence is coming into the system and you are enjoying it. But there is the other side of it. It's not always so rosy all the time. So it becomes a war between man and machine. So now you have to take a decision whether you want to become an enemy of the machine or you want to become a friend of the machine. But machines, they would be coming, they would be changing. And at the same pace, the person, he has to change his attitude, his approach. So before I move further, I just, with your permission, मुझे बशीर बद्र साहब की दो लाइनें याद आ रही हैं. अगर आप इजाज़त दें तो मैं सुनाना चाहूँगा वो जिंदा दिली के लिए, ताकि ये जो हमारे दोस्त बैठे हैं थोड़ी खामोशी और टूटेगी.
He's a very good poet, by the way. That was not given in the introduction.
बशीर बद्र साहब कहते हैं कि खुद को इतना भी मत बचाया कर, खुद को इतना भी मत बचाया कर, बारिशें हों तो भीग जाया कर.
वाह वाह.
खुद को इतना भी मत बचाया कर, बारिशें हों तो भीग जाया कर, और चांद लाकर कोई नहीं देगा, अपने चेहरे से जगमगाया कर.
वाह वाह.
चांद लाकर कोई नहीं देगा, अपने चेहरे से जगमगाया कर. और दर्द हीरा है, दर्द मोती है, दर्द आँखों से मत बहाया कर. और काम ले कुछ हसीन होठों का, बातों बातों में मुस्कुराया कर. और कौन कहता है दिल मिलाने को, कम से कम हाथ तो मिलाया कर. सो इस प्रीटेक्स्ट और इस बैकग्राउंड में विल मूव फॉरवर्ड कि टुडे आई एम वर्किंग इन अ पब्लिक सेक्टर, आई एम हेडिंग HR and L&D. The change in the technology is being reflected in the work, in the system across the organization, be it a private sector, be it a government sector. There was a quite big difference in, if you see a public sector, a government sector 10 years back, if you see it today, it has almost changed. It is just working like any other private sector with no defined, जो कहते हैं भाई शाम को 5 बजे घर चले जाते हैं, ऐसा नहीं होता. Even the government sectors are working day and night, Saturday, Sunday from 9 to 9, and the cultural shift is there. And this industry 4.0, दरवाज़ा खटखटा चुकी है, even all the public sectors, they are into it. And we are a facilitator basically into MSME sector, and we have got a big role towards it. It's the government of India's mandate that we have to fulfill. We have to develop all the MSME sectors across India. We have to support them. We have to facilitate them. And it is not only in terms of technology only, but it is also in terms of hand-holding them, supporting them in terms of consultancy, in terms of entrepreneurial training. We have got almost 7-8 training centers across India where we are doing this. And what we find, the biggest challenge in India today, Indian industry, is that there are various micro and small industries which are actually not aware about these technological changes and things like that. And there is nobody to tell them how you are going about it. We as an agency, we are also giving them registration services, various kind of services. But as of now, what the ministry has decided, what our public sector has decided, that we would be entering into so many new verticals, whether it is e-commerce, whether it is B2B portal, whether all the new businesses with the support of the technology, and the mindset has to change. There was a time when in government organization, people just used to see बड़ी-बड़ी मोटी-मोटी फाइलें कभी फिल्मों में दिखती होंगी आप लोगों को. कुछ ऐसे ऐड आते हैं ना जो फाइलों का अंबार होता है, पीछे एक छोटा सा आदमी दिखाई देता है. So now tables are much cleaner. I mean, you have got e-office system. Files are being moved through system. People are doing their performance appraisal online. They are taking the use of the data, support of the data from online HRMS system. So this constant shift which is there, it requires a kind of attitude change. And until unless you are going to change, it is not going to come. Industry cannot come on its own by, let's say, 4.0, 5.0. I mean, there are persons who are at the back of it, who are doing it. And with this, the constant change in the technology, the skill set, that is also required. So when there is a fear, suppose you are saying, with the coming of the industry, with the technological advancement, the jobs are going to be cut down. That's not going to happen. The jobs will keep on changing. The skill set will keep on changing. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So Rajesh, कौन कहता है दिल मिलाने को कम से कम हाथ तो मिलाया कर. Fantastic. I think that's the message, reaching out to people, high touch, okay, and again being emphasized. And I think you are the only government representative on this panel. We'll come back to you again because government is a big employer. Government is spending a lot of money on digital transformation. I am myself working, so we'll come back to you and talk more about how this digital transformation is being done in the government. It's difficult. So we'll get your perspective. Thank you very much. And the good news, Rajiv, is that you are the last speaker. And the bad news is that we've completely run out of time.
That's fine.
Okay? Over to you. Over to you. Thank you.
See what happens, actually, much of it has already been said. The advantage is that I can really walk out of this room saying nothing. But what has happened is that in the process, I've got an advantage that, really speaking, almost what was to be said has been done and covered. But just take a picture, this thing. So what I thought that there'll be a picture presentation, and so they are all self-explanatory. It's not much of talking that has to be done. What I'm trying to make out is that most of us will be left out with this question at the end of the day, that what kind of mindset we have to have if we have to manage the industry 4.0, and what are the implications. So they have some implications, like Shruti was telling that, that humans have to be learning those robo skills, and robos have to be made more humane. So the point is that that's the journey together of cobotics. Robots working with human beings when you're collaborating and co-creating. So let's just rush through and so that I think we'll just see how much time it takes, because I've not timed it out. But I think it won't take more than 5-6 minutes. So you're preparing the workforce for the fourth industrial revolution. It's all over the place, and you see various things, that there'll be so many billion youth worldwide will not have skills, but then they'll definitely have the skills that are required in the future. 65% of the jobs that you will be doing next 10 years are not even known today. So just rest assured that you'll all get to know them in proper time. Now, this is the disruption which is taking place, and the World Economic Forum has already put it in perspective what these 10 skills would be actually. I'll just take you through whether this, and just see it, it's like moving upwards. So the message is that we need to be kind of, because why is industry and what is technology doing? It makes us more efficient. And human ways, if done manually, they are inefficient. But the point is that in a world which is unpredictable, efficiency has a limited role. So humans will continue to be driving the driverless car. Not at all managing the steering necessarily, but then determining the destination of the car. So that is what we all have to work around and create the talent for the future. Now, these are the 10 skills, in fact, and just see the proportion of them. 80% of the skills that will be required are the ones which are not necessarily taught as a discipline even today. So we got to see that the remaining 20% are the ones which are being taught today. They'll remain very limited in scope. And skills, knowledge, attitude, and the values that have to be there, this is what we'll see now as to what has happened in the future that has arrived. So you'll see that you have to redefine and just see this is what happened 5,000 years of human history. And by 2007, when they say the start of the fourth industrial revolution, about convergence of what you call the physical space, the cyberspace, and the biospace, just see exponential growth is taking place. That means change is taking place at every given point of time, not over a period of time. So you've got to learn to respond in reaction time. And just see your trajectory, unless of the exponential kind is taken into account, you will not be predicting the right value. So you will go wrong. This is exactly what's happening. The industrial revolution multiplied our physical capability, the mental capacity, and the digital revolution multiplies our social capacity. Now, this is the change that's taking place. Fourth industrial revolution is different from the earlier three because it made limited impact on the industry and the business associated with it. This fourth is making a major change in our social ways of thinking and our capacity to reach out. Every factor of behavior has changed, every factor of choice has changed. This you know very well. Transforming the way organizations understand, create, and capture value will have to change. Just look at there's only future start, no start stop. Devices, of course, we have known that there were so many million users. Now you have so many, and there'll be 3.8 billion smartphone users. Price of data is falling down. What was $10 million now free. This is the dopamine that what was being talked, and we know it took 75 years for AT&T to took 50 million consumers. Pokemon took just 19 days. So reset expectations, market behavior has already changed, virtual, real. And what is important, old DNA was economies of scale, economies of scope. Now the new DNA would be non-linear to the power of n. That is exponential. You see Netflix 2014 and 2018. No company is safe, therefore that's the important challenge. And now we have to manage. Now see, end of uncertainty, you want it immediately, end of marketing, end of friction. It's all happening at the same time. And what Komolika said, and then of course Shruti also mentioned that things are getting flatter. The point is that roles would be important, not designations. So people will have different roles. Human resource will have a role of an analyst to business, an analyst to business, an integrator, a change manager, and intervention specialist. Not these life cycle managers. So HR people, those of you who will choose, in fact, would definitely have a job. Don't be afraid of what Shruti said. We'll have jobs which will be richer in content. They'll be enriching us more as humans. But where and how is changing, not what. You see, if you permit me, Siddharth, I think how we can take them through once and then we can have a discussion. Yeah.
If you have some more points, we'll
yeah.
put in the panel discussion.
I think I have some points.
30 seconds if you can wrap it up.
I think then it won't make sense. Then let me stop because, see, this is, if I would say just take it 2-3 minutes more and it can get complete, otherwise we can stop it here.
Rather stop it and if you want to wrap it, take 5-10 seconds.
I think that will not make sense because what I want to convey is an idea.
We'll take it up in the panel discussion.
That's fine. I think because then that will not be possible because what's happening is that at least half a second on each of them, so I think there'll be another because I won't close them. So music is music, photos are photos, but see, analog to a Snapchat, TVs to TikTok, transportation from owning to driverless, hospitals to apps, wearables. So this is what happens. The idea is that you don't have to establish your current model to dictate your future one. The new job definition itself is going to change, ability to unlearn. The new job definition, see, the structures are look like this, what Siddharth said. The structures will change, and the structures are like this, and now the structures will be probably like this. So that's the difference, in fact, which we must understand. Because just talking about few things, Siddharth, that was the point I was trying to make, that we need to make certain points clear. So if this happens, there will be therefore traditional company, and the new company would be like this. So therefore, you have to unlearn, understand. These are the 4 things which will make the future. So unlearn, understand, reimage opportunities, rewire yourself, reconfigure your firm. So this will be something which, so current will not be good enough, so just take it through here. Now this is like the new belief systems. In this world of technology, just see, inherent constraints, the whole paradigm of thinking changes. Inherent constraints to inherent potential, so therefore outcome, inherent complexity to inherent simplicity, that's the usage of machine. But then how humans use it, inherent conflict to inherent win-win. You think of competition, fighting between themselves for a larger pie of the cake. Here you can increase the size of the cake and have a walkaway where everybody has a larger share. So convention is inherent bad people to inherent good people with bad assumptions. Redefining the contours of talent, just look at what's happening. The boss is there, now the boss is there. The leader is here, top, now everybody is together. This is it, conventional talent, efficiency to effectiveness. And this is what management was about, making people do things they didn't like. What Siddhant was telling, that there was so drudgery involved in the jobs that you were trying to do, but now you will do jobs which you thought were not possible for you to do. So this is a new thinking, new possibilities would be very important, would be that turning level playing field, traveling light with no mental baggage. Now these kind of things would be the ones which will make a difference to you. And these are the change dimensions. People never thought it so. Learning from history, not being burdened by it. This is what exactly that, you get the benefit of the past, don't get burdened by it is more important. So that's why you have to change, be agile. This is what agility all about. So this is one thing which I would like to take for just a second. See, this is where we are, most of us. How to accept this 4.0. We are at the core of it. We know everything, we are comfortable, and we repel anything which comes unfamiliar to me. But just new facts come, I've moved my position from there to the edge. Open a small window to new facts and just see the world a little different. Then I move my heart, open my heart and go further out and start seeing it, and I see the picture different. And then I keep, this is what you say, stay out of box. This is how you're going to explore. Because in this world of today, we know something, we know what we don't know, but we don't know what we don't know, beyond the circle. So we got to constantly explore. So move around, revolve and rotate, and then keep on expanding. So if you keep this in mind, I think that's the tool which you can use to actually shake hands with technology and redefine the whole DNA of the modern age.
Fantastic.
And I can continue, but there are some things which we'll take up later.
I'm sweating. Okay. There was so much. It was power-packed. Okay. We could have given the entire 2 hours to Rajiv and it still wouldn't have been sufficient. Thank you very much for preparing so well and very intense presentation. I think there are nuggets, points that we will pick up now that we are opening this panel discussion. Thank you very much, Rajiv. Okay, so let's just quickly open this discussion, and I want to start off with the implications of this kind of changes in your organizations in terms of people practices. What would it mean in terms of the change in leadership style? What would it entail in terms of the change in organizational culture? And you mentioned some of the structure, culture, structure, systems, leadership. Can we just quickly discuss this, starting with you, because you alluded to it, and then maybe Rajiv has a lot to say on it. But if you can quickly make your comment.
Sure. So I think a very interesting question. It's a major challenge. If I have to hire new, it's easy, right? Just go and hire basis the new competency skills and new KPIs, right? New JDs, right? What do you call? But how to change the existing mindset? I like the word that was used by one of the panelists as unlearning. I think somewhere we need to help people to unlearn, which will help us to engage them into future. You know, that technique of getting people unlearned is really, really a requirement of the day, if I really call it out. Now, you need to have agents who can help us to get people's mindset to unlearn, right? And then there has to be a cascading effect down the line, right? First, leaders have to speak that language, then middle management, and then it can fall to the lower. But the first part is how to engage people in this journey of unlearning.
So one of the competencies that leadership needs to have is unlearn. So Rajiv, quickly, a point on the structure. You had a couple of slides. So talk about how the structures could evolve. From do you see a change?
No, I see, there was a concept in the earlier times of creating a structure and then creating a strategy based on that structure. This is a story from out of the leaf of the Greek legend where they would have a Procrustean bed. Now the point is the size of the bed was absolutely fixed in a hotel. Whosoever will come will have to be made to lie on that. And if the size didn't fit, the extra part was chopped off. Now that is what we have been doing in the structure so far. So now the idea was that in the new ways, when agility, adapting, upgrading, modifying, changing would be the order of the day, because, you know, flexibility, that is what it means, that you got to respond in reaction time. You have to use design thinking, you have to use right part of the brain, creativity, parallel thinking. These would be the relevant things, not linear extrapolation. Linearity has died its death when we've seen that what has now happened is exponential. So when this happens, in this structure will not be decided by the person or the people around there on their own, but strategy would determine the structure. So that is the whole idea, that now onwards there'll be no prefixed rules. The point is that it will be flexible, adaptable, upgradable, modifiable, changeable.
Can you give an example from your organization or any other organization that you have seen the structure changing?
Yeah, you see all these tech companies, in fact, what's happening is that they are very flat, and the point is that decision making is not hierarchical. And they just come around the person whose importance is determined by not his position, by the kind of contribution that he can make. So the structures would be woven around contributions, around roles, not designations and not levels of people.
So Kamalika, on this point, would you want to add to the culture piece? He's talked about strategy, he's talked about leadership, he's also touched upon the structure. Is there something on the cultural piece?
See, last year I read this book, Hit the Refresh by Satya Nadella. So there he mentioned CEO. The C stands for culture. I think this is very important from a leadership point of view, that a leader has to drive the culture. And if you really want to bring the change, it's the leader who will have to bring the change. It will be always from top to bottom. If there is no acceptance of the leadership team, then any kind of initiative that you want to drive will all become failure.
Fantastic. Actually, you must read, there's a new case study which has come on Microsoft, how Satya Nadella has completely changed the model which Bill Gates had adopted, and the culture of Microsoft is becoming more empathetic, and there is a Harvard Business Review case study only on Microsoft on the cultural change. Thank you. And
I just want to add to what Rajiv and Komutka was saying. So in our organization as well, I think, if I look at the HR organization, and I was alluding to, 30% of my time actually has to be dedicated on agile teams. I'm myself a product owner. I'm working on some project which may be HR-centric, they may be business-centric, but that's the expectation. So that's one part of the work. The other part of the work is that it's totally a matrix. The reporting hierarchy has changed. It's not just one person. It is more project-based, and you maybe end up reporting into multiple people within the geography or across geography, because it's very skill-based work rather than, as rightly said, hierarchical-based, that he or she, the person to whom I'm reporting to, that really doesn't exist.
Thank you. Shruti, your comments on this? Or the people practices of...
Let me add a specific example to how we are making changes to the leadership structure. I'll take an example from my own company. So one of the things, so Industry 4.0 also means that you have a very distributed power system, a distributed set of empowerment, so that not only just the top is making decisions, which slows things down. What we've done in our company is, so earlier, the top leadership would sit only in the headquarters. GE made that change early on, but we've literally made that change that a lot of those positions have been created locally in India, because they realized maybe later that significant chunk of the workforce. So India, for example, in my company represents 25% of the total company's workforce. We are roughly about a 19,000 employee company now. 5,000 sits out of India. So now lot of top leadership positions have been created now in Bangalore. That's one. Number two, the number of layers. So we were operating with 11-layer organization. We are now down to about 5 to 6. And remember one thing, every time we solve a problem, it creates another problem. So solving the problem of transparency, communication, which means you reduce hierarchies, creates problem of how do you create vertical promotions for people now? Because ladder existed in the past to create careers for people. Now if that goes away, we have another problem to solve.
Right. And Rajesh, your view on the government perspective to the people practices in this government sector?
Yeah. So first I would just like to add what Kamalika said about culture. What I feel in most of the companies, the MD or the owner, he thinks that the culture is like a pill, you take it and you are changed. In fact, it is not like that. That's why it is a word culture. आप जाते हैं कहीं पे, if you go for blood test and all that, they say इसको culture करना पड़ेगा. Means it will take some time. So we'll have to give some time to the culture to breed it and to develop it. And this is the problem which many companies, especially this Lalaji, he will not understand. In government sector, what we have done, I mean, in my company, what I have worked in previously 3 public sectors before 10 years. What I find there is a drastic change in the culture of the government sector. It has taken its time and it is changing now. But we do not force upon people to change in one day. The convincing has to be done. It has to be done through personal interaction, through meetings, through various interactive forums. And you have to explain them. You have to explain them the benefit, the kind of a change that is going to happen. And yes, they are ready to change, and we have done it in our... I have joined this company 2 years back. Prior 2 years, everything was manual. Today, I have got an online performance appraisal system. I have got a human source management portal. We are developing a training portal online. So all these things are there, and they are changing, they are doing it, and they are using it. That's how I feel the government is not far behind in change.
So what does the panel feel about the amenability of organizations? Are some organizations quickly adapting it, and are there some which are there in the background and which will take a longer time to come? Is there a perspective on this categorization of organizations in terms of the change in the people practices?
Absolutely. You know, if I say, and I'll agree to it, I would say 100% of people are talking about it, but probably just 10% of them are really doing it. So I think that's there. And in closed forums, if you converse, you really understand that, you know, everyone has the intention. So let me take an example of, you know, upskilling our employees. I think that's a big initiative which we are running, and I think every organization in the Industry 4.0 is looking at it, because that's the reality. Now, so the idea is to, you know, look at initiatives where we can really create learning paths which are personalized, nudge based, on the go, to be provided. But people are grappling with how to do that. Technology is one, funding is one, but then comes the culture, right? Because we are talking about people who, workforce where we have baby boomers, we have Generation Z, the millennials, all concocts together, right? The group out here, which are probably Zs, not even millennials now, they're ready to take learning bite size. But people like baby boomers, and I'm not a baby boomer, are living in a past where the learning is more of, I would prefer a classroom rather than a blended learning. So that's creating problem in terms of how I'm going to actually deploy those learning interventions.
Okay, so Rajiv, you wanted to add.
See, actually, it's not a matter of choice. The point is that we are seeing what's happening to the economy. Economy will do whatever it does and whatever happens to it. The point is the business models will have to adapt, upgrade, and modify and change. It's not a matter of choice. Those who do not will just be laggards. And there's always a situation in change management. Few realize it earlier. There are early adopters, there are pioneers, and there are few laggards. You know what happens to the laggards. We can just have to go back 10 years in history and see those who did not change. And we have lots of them. You have Nokia, you have Kodaks, you have so many, and the current ones also, if they don't change, I think the same. They'll end up into the limbo of oblivion. because they'll be lost earlier than later.
Anybody else wants to add to this before we move on?
Yeah, just one more point to add to your point. I fully back. As we are sitting on heavy OPEX, stressed OPEX today, heavy target pressure on top line, typically very stiff bottom line. Every $1 that I spent on people, I'm been asked how many times of that revenue comes in. I don't have any choice, and I fully back you. That pushes me to adopt, right? Nothing else, but that pushes me. If I have to track a person on mobile app who's in the market, who's in the field, I have to develop that app and give it. So I have to get the partner who gets me that capability, right? So I don't have any choice, but the kind of business streamlined today in terms of stiff OPEX pressures, I need to do that.
Fantastic. Right. Anybody else has a point of view on that? Yeah.
Just a quick one. So one of the other aspect of companies where digital transformation becomes a little difficult. So one of the part we miss when we try to automate everything is that we're trying to invest in technologies. Many companies still do it that way. Where else can we automate? So automation being the intent of where you invest in technology is perhaps the wrong approach. Where you invest in technology is driven by what experiences you want to improve and where. And of course, then it is followed by the cost implications and all of that. But what experiences do you want to improve and where in the organization? That drives, do you automate or not?
So it's linked to strategy and the experience that we want to drive, right?
Yeah, and strategy driven by experiences.
So let me just now change gears. A lot of you talked about the skills. Rajiv gave a laundry list of 10 skills, creativity. The top 3 he said were creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving. I read, the latest Harvard Business Review has a lead article on artificial intelligence, and they are saying collaboration is going to be very critical because you need multifunctional people to work together. Last time I was standing here, I talked about humility. So, what does the panel feel would be some of the top 2-3 skills that the leadership would need to display in terms of the changed expectations in the organization? What could be some of the top 3 skills that would help organizations tide this change?
So when I was a small kid, I remember there used to be a telephone directory near the phone, and if I had to dial someone's number, I'll go alphabetically order, and I used to look at the phone number and then say D, and I'll look into D, and I used to dial the phone. Then came the mobile where, everything is saved. Probably, I don't know how many of you remember your father's number or mom's number, your uncle's number. Now the age has come, if I'm driving, I need to call someone, I'll just say, hey Siri, can you call up my mother? Okay. So now, Siri will immediately call up my mom because my mom's number is saved in that phone. But if my mom's number is not saved on my phone, and if I say, hey Siri, please call up my mom, Siri will not be able to recognize. So that's the difference between technology and human, that as a leader, the first and foremost thing is like empathy. We need to have the empathy towards our employees. Otherwise, whatever you want to do, whatever advancement you want to bring to your company, if you are not there for the people, I think everything will become a failure.
Let's stay at one skill, empathy. She says, what about the other people? Which skills would become Shruti, and then Rajesh maybe.
Curiosity to learn.
Right.
This will be the most important. Quick one, because technology is driven by human need. Human need decides what technology should do in the future, and technology can never get ahead of human need. And you need to have the skill of curiosity to learn what that new need would look like. And for that, we need to be curious to learn and find out what the new trend is. So
yeah, the director of Egon Zehnder has said that curiosity is the master skill which has implications on all leadership competencies as well as competencies required for potential. You can read more about that in Harvard Business Review, Rajesh.
I would say patience, because this is something if you expect something to happen, you need to give it time as well, then it will happen. That's all.
Okay.
Last but not the least, diversity, I would say. Openness to diversity. At some point of time in Airtel, I remembered when we used to hire people for sales, we used to say that, we should hire a male or a female. Today, the management worldwide is thinking, not even thinking in terms of male, female, but we are also talking of LGBTQ. We are talking of how diverse the talent should be to be able to address the market, what is the market need. So that's how the needle has moved. So diversity is a very important component, which diversity of thoughts also, diversity of gender, thoughts, everything, that leadership should be very, very open for this change.
And I think just to add, diversity is not necessarily gender or ethics or whatever you said, ideas also, so age diversity. So companies which have more of age diversity also, because there's one DQ which he said high tech.
We are still not redundant.
Not at all. In fact, no, the new elder is very different today, provided you're adapted, upgraded, modified. So the biggest leadership skill of 21st century is adaptive leadership.
Thank
That's
you for retaining our jobs. Okay, so if these skills are important, right? My question to the panel is, how do we? I don't like the word training, but how do we educate our people, our frontline people, our leaders, our middle managers, our functional leaders, to exhibit more of curiosity, to exhibit more of empathy? How do we do that? Okay, Microsoft is a great example of how they have started using empathy. If you can read that long case study. But what is your experience in your organization to do that? I think Akshay hasn't spoken, so Akshay would want to.
I think it's very difficult to really make people do it. I think it's very important that it has to come from within, that this needs to be done. So I think that's, as the curiosity fact is important. Unless you have that curiosity delta in you, I think irrespective whether you're leader or your frontline staff, you will not be able to,
So why won't you look at curiosity while recruiting people, for example?
Absolutely. That's also one of the criteria or competency which we look for, because as I said, it's about not the skill or the experience. It is right now, but it's changing as we speak. It's more about the attitude and the aptitude of the learnability. So I think that's where we are giving far more importance to people when we're looking for in a workforce.
Thank you. You want to say something, Raj?
No, see, there are three things. Why doesn't this happen? There are three kind of voices within us. One is the voice of judgment of others. How will people judge you? There's a voice of your own cynicism. Things have never happened in the past, they won't happen now. And the third is the fear of failure. So if we overcome this, in fact, and all our LNOD initiatives, we have to actually get to a situation where it's all right to fail. You can celebrate failure, as you said, that once failure is okay. It's not that you're condoning failure, because failure and any reasonable explanation is still a failure. But the point is that you must get away with that fear. Okay, as long as you learn it, don't repeat the mistake. Don't give up. There's nothing called failure in life. So this is the message for you students also, that, if you don't have that fear of failure, just don't give up, you will never fail.
All right, thank you. Anybody else has one?
Just one point on this, that what we have done is also celebrate success. Oh, right. At times we take it for granted, and a lot of people, a small chunk of people who make that change should be recognized, which really has a good ripple effect on others. At least some of the projects I remember where we had a good change management through those set of people just getting recognized and awarded, and others followed.
Thank you. So that leads me to my next question is, how do you make this change possible? Mind you, change management is easy to talk about, much more difficult to implement. It's easy to talk on a presentation to make the change, but difficult to execute change at the ground level. So I want to take the perspective of government, because I am struggling with change in the government, okay? There are historical reasons, but quickly, before we move on to the other panelists, how do you make this big shift in a setup in the government where sometimes nobody is willing to accept any responsibility? The government bureaucrat, he's saying, "Abhi mera 2 saal ka tenure hai, main fir Assam chala jaunga. What am I going to do?" So how do you? My struggle has been, how do you make the leaders lead change?
I'm facing a similar problem because our company is entering into various new kind of activities, various verticals, and there are people who are on the verge of retirement and all that. They are not ready to accept the challenges, and they want to continue with the old practices, the old system that they have been doing. But then our CMD says, send them for a transformation for 2-3 weeks, some good place, let them enjoy their life, And in the meantime, we can change so many things. So that's a lighter aspect.
Send them on a holiday to Missouri. All right, okay, right.
But I will just share a very small example with you for change management, how we did in Tata Power. It was basically a takeover of Delhi Vidyut Board. Various trade unions and all that. I think Mr. Bhadoria will accept it. He might have seen that. So we wanted to just place this biometric system for attendance. And Delhi Vidyut Board employees, they were ex-government employees. They say, we did not have any such kind of system and we don't want to have it. But we wanted to do it. So what we did, we just took few machines, placed it at our head office and few various offices without any information, without any circular, without any notification. और छोटे छोटे ग्रुप्स में हमने सिर्फ बांट दिया कि भी हम मशीनें लगा रहे हैं. It is just to experiment how it works. तो आप लोग थोड़ा सा करके देखो कैसे सिस्टम काम करता है. And gradually, I mean, they become accustomed to using it.
So take baby steps.
Yeah.
Okay, let them test waters.
और 6 महीने बाद जब सबकी आदत पड़ गई, फिर हमने सर्कुलर निकाल दिया.
Point taken. Thank you. Anybody else? Kamalika, yeah.
Okay. I would like to quote example from a previous company, Titan, where I've worked, Tanishq. You know, when Tanishq started, it was about to be in the closure because people were not able to accept. Mom and grandmom, if they had to go and buy jewelry, they never wanted. They have their own local jewelers, and they will go and buy jewelry from there. They always believe in making in front of the eyes. But when Tanishq came up, it was a huge failure in the beginning, and they were not able. They were in a point was months were given that they had to shut down the store. Then how did really Tanishq transform? And they have revitalized the entire jewelry industry. So they started the first thing that one of the success of Tanishq is the trust. They started with a carat meter. There were queues in Tanishq stores where people were standing and to see what is the purity of the gold. So it is first Titan who bought this carat meter, the trust which was brought among the customers that what is the purity of your gold. And gradually the designs came up, and you know, this is the first thing. If you have to bring change, I think that trust.
I think it's a very, very relevant point. Building trust, building credibility. Thank you. Do you want to add anything to Shruti before I go to the last leg of this panel discussion?
Two key learnings and basis that our organization has done some things differently. For any change to happen, two things are critical. One is people who need to execute that change, were they part of defining that change?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you involve in that
ownership?
Change? So while your culture is top down, but change the definition of what that new change looks like for the company, did you engage the larger organization in defining that need? And number two, finally, when you announce that change, do people understand the why behind that change? Yeah. Why do I need to change? What is my role? How does this change impact me? It's a very fundamental, from a neuroscience standpoint, I was talking to you, to all of you yesterday, this is the fundamental need for any humans to become part of the change. And one of the things, initiatives our company did when we significantly transformed our company culture. So we simplified the culture definition completely. That was one part, because we had to make the change look simple. But when we defined what that change looked like, we did a massive survey through face-to-face conversations with a lot of employees on what is the part of the culture we should retain and what should we change. Employees defined that together, and then it was floated.
Fantastic.
And I think that was one success I've seen compared to many other
Yeah.
companies.
My also learning is that if you tell people why we are changing, they're more amenable to change. So I come to the last part before I open up to the audience, and that is the flip side of this Industry 4.0. Has the human in the human resources become a lost cause and has become a fanboy of technology? Okay, what about our privacy? What about unemployment? What about the manipulation of human behavior, as we have seen what Cambridge Analytica has done? And I recently watched that brilliant documentary on Netflix, The Great Hack. So how do we manage some of these downsides, because they can really jeopardize this entire change? So what does the panel feel about it? Yeah, thank you.
I can add something on this, and something which we have started working on it is a data governance framework, you know, especially on people analytics, because this all people data which we use to draw essential insights. So we're working on a data governance where we'll ensure that what information gets to the people who are processing it and to what level. Whether if I'm just a simple example, if I'm capturing or trying to do some analytics around attrition, I'll not be supplying the diversity data around it. I'll simply some numbers so that I'm not being biased about, okay, this class of people are more ready to lose than the other, and then there's a bias which comes into, in the recruiting engine. So one of the, example of it, but I think it's very important because it's a scary deal and something which we need to take employees into confidence, and we are doing that by asking employees what is the level of comfortness with which you can share your data, or we can use your data to run analytics around.
So, for example, face recognition technology. Okay, that can be really dangerous. Any other panelists?
I think it's I have a different view. Like I really like to 3 slides of taking 3 different views of the same situation. I have a view. There's a change and shift of how you measured, right? Taking my robotic example, you need a person to manage that robot, right? Robot brings in precision in the surgery. Robot brings in that accurateness, of the solution, right? But somebody has to learn to operate that, right? So again, the KPIs have to be very finely measured and changed. How you measure a success, and you're still doing a job, but there's a different way to look at it. The different way to look at what is the desired outcome of that. That will make a difference, and I don't think so in the long run. I really see, because today they are 100 employees, right? Tomorrow there could be 80 employees and 20 partners, right? So I still see the economy having, the job economy not having a dent, but it will have its boots in its own terms. And we could see so many entrepreneurs sitting across us.
Yeah, as somebody said, the way you are getting employed will change. Maybe it will be a bigger gig economy. You want to say something?
Yeah, just one liner I have to say. In this, the flip side of Industry 4.0 is that machines are getting connected, people are getting disconnected. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
हाथ मिलाने की ज़रूरत है.
And I think, just allow me just a minute. See, the point is that I have a different view. And that's what I said, that driving the driverless car. Now see, that's exactly who's the master and who's the person who's providing you the service. Like Siri doesn't know, if the name is not put in there, this world, we may remember, is more and more unpredictable. Because change is taking place at every given point of time, not over a period of time. So you got to respond in reaction time. So keeping that in mind, what's happening actually is that the more and more the world becomes unpredictable, more and more dependence on technology, and the less and less of human skills we'll continue to have. And the flip side is exactly, Siddharth, that it's like for the sake of efficiency, we automate. And nobody is now going to allow you to kind of, go manual on a way where there are more efficient ways of doing things. That's absolutely gainsaying that, But the point is that in the process, what happens, you'll require less and less of human compassion on the work front. And the less and less of something that you need, the less and less of that you will have. The more less and less of compassion you'll require, the less and less compassion we'll have. So we have to somehow or the other do by design that yes, human compassion is not lost sight of, because 4.0, I'm personally a great proponent of industrialization. 4.0, I've been talking on it for the last 10 years. When people were not even talking now, it's become very fashionable. But I uphold that human compassion and human will. Like, for example, in workplace, there was a survey conducted that those companies which had actually fallen under the Lehman times, they were asked about who held you, what kept you going. So everybody said that it's the people. It's those colleagues who have kept me going. Not the machines, not the data. But then the point is that if at workplace you're required to do things efficiently, fast, do it now and do it as if there's another day not available to you, the point is that you'll not make friends, because making friends is time consuming. Making friends is wasteful. Making friends would be inefficient. But for the sake of efficiency, if you sacrifice that, let me tell you and ask you a question, who will stand by you when the storms come? And they will come now in plenty. Epidemics will come, generically and not specifically known. So generically you have the methodology of planning, but specifically you will have to actually prepare.
Right.
So preparing could not be efficient. Preparing, you will have to be wasteful, you will have to have redundancies. So there is a contradiction of technology and the way humans work and human operations take place.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now let there be a storm of the audience, okay? So we will open it up to the audience. I only request you to tell your name and which year are you in or which stream you are doing, and then address your question by name to one of the panelists, all right? So please go ahead and raise your hands. Oh, don't tell me. We You're assigned 30 minutes. I'm sure they're warming up. Okay, that it's taking time. So it's your time now.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anshuman Das, and I'm from first year HRM program. Thank you to all the honorable members of the panel for such an insightful session. So my question is directed at Mr. Vikas Khoka. And my question is, how do we orchestra the employee experience, specifically to promote innovation and creativity? Because that is something which is very important to sustain and prepare for the change.
So, great question, and I have a 3I philosophy to it. Any OD program that I implement, it's idea, implementation, and impact, right? So, for engaging people, right, it's first that idea has to be brought in, the implementation technique has to be defined, and impact has to be justified, And impact also has to be in terms of how it will impact that person, right? How it will impact that organization, in the ecosystem, how impactful that particular idea or an OD intervention is, right? I'm taking a journalist view right now, not specifying of any. This really happens in making others to buy in with that idea, right? And everybody becomes part of that particular universe, and that makes people engage and successful. Otherwise, you really could see that you do a lot of stuff, but you don't find people engage. My second point on this is, I clearly see employee engagement as a very debatable topic. I always stick to one point. If you can do your job well, right? The work that you are assigned for, you can do it well. That means organization helps you with all the resources to get that work done well. You are going to sustain for long because you will develop, grow, and perform, right? If you may do 10 different activities, but you're not able to perform or do the work that you are assigned for well, then you are engaged. So we have to ensure all possible processes and systems in the organization, including culture, so that people get all resources for doing that job well for which they have assigned. Right?
Thank you. Right. Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So you spoke something about celebrating failures. So that is something that companies are doing. So something like that, some other, processes that companies are following, something like celebrating failures.
He said celebrating success.
He spoke when he was...
So I also did, because we've recently started celebrating failures, also from the standpoint that people need to innovate to do new things. Don't do regular things. You'll not get only recognized if you keep doing the same things in a similar way. You have to find newer ways to do things. But when you do new things, you also tend to fail. But when you take an initiative, that particular initiative is appreciated despite that it is having a success or a failure, but it is an initiative in a new direction. So that is one area that we have started working on. In fact, we have a matrix where we have 5 or 6 new things which are happening. So we have created 3 broad pillars around this change. And these pillars are cascaded down the line because it's the big organization across 80 countries we have operations. So from worldwide, we have 3 broad pillars going down to each country. And then people identify what are the newer ways in each pillar that they are initiating. It's more of an input, right? Whether it is a success or a failure. We do appreciate that you've taken that initiative in that particular sub-pillar.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So my question is to Mr.
Your name, madam?
Dikshita. Dikshita, I'm from PGDM first year. Okay. So my question is to Mr. Rajesh. So this is regarding government sectors. Like nowadays generations, we have different needs. It's less monetary and more towards creating impact and creating changes. So government institutions especially are not agile enough for the present generation. Like so much so that even UPSC services, their attrition rate is going higher. So how is government agency going to fill up that gap, or how can we change to adapt to that?
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, in government sector also there are various categories. There are various different organizations, and each individual organization is having its own culture. So maybe there may be few government sector, few organizations where the change is not so fast, But at the same time, you will find many organizations where this change is happening very swiftly. I mean, the decisions are being just changed in one day and things are happening in that way. So it all depends, I mean, which sector you have experienced and where you have been exposed.
Are you satisfied?
Should I explain
kind
something?
of. All right. Look, there is always a bigger challenge in the government sector. I do recognize. But I think, as Rajesh has been saying again and again, and it's been my experience, that there is a wind of change coming from the top. Okay? There are some leaders in the government who do want things to change. For example, digital transformation. Okay? The picture of an employee deluged under a basket of a pile of files is changing. Everything is getting digitized slowly, but the pace of change is slower, and it's true across the world. It's true across the world. I'm sure it will be true for US and Canada as much as it's true for India. Okay, look at the e-governance. Look at the passports are available in a week, 10 days time. It was unimaginable 5 years back. So the e-governance has really leapt up. Okay, that's my input. Thank you. So yes, sir. You want a mic? Yeah, I mean, sorry? Yeah.
So my name is Gandharv, and I'm not a part of this college. So my question to...
So who are you?
Yeah, that's an... So I was invited over by Ms. Shruti Jaiswal to this event.
Okay,
and
right.
Yeah. So
very good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir. So my question to panel is, like, anyone can answer. It's an open question. How important is personal branding important in this industry 4.0 to become or establish as a successful entrepreneur?
So let Shruti try and answer that.
I'll answer it in the simplest possible way now, because I believe it's important. Whatever definition you give to branding, but personal branding is important. And I was yesterday talking to the students here. Even a great product is like a book that is lying unread. And for people to read that book needs to reach the readers. Which simply means you may have all the skills, you may be really good, but you need to get out in the market for people to see that you, somebody with you, your kind of skills exist. And people won't know that unless you're comfortable letting yourself out. And this is what branding is about. Are you letting people know what capabilities you bring to the table, the fact that you're there? And this is all that branding is. This is as simple as what branding is. It's not really a complex thing of how many followers you have or the number of followers you create, because there is no comparison. Everybody has a different number behind them. But just get out there.
Anybody else wants to?
Besides the fact, the social media, in fact, and the technology helps you do it better today. So that's exactly. So if a book is unread, the point is that you can make them read. At least those who are interested will definitely read it. Because there's a methodology by which you can reach out to so many, which was not available earlier. So that is the advantage of technology.
Right. Can we have a few more questions before we close? Yes, sir. This side is fairly active. What is happening to this side? Okay, I'll come back to you, the lady in the back, after this. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm Rishabh, a PGDM co-student. And since this has been a topic that's been brought up multiple times, it's an open question. Today, a lot of time it was said that in Industry 4.0, there will be automation of intellectual employment, and a lot of middle management roles might go as companies get leaner. Whenever there's been an industrial revolution, there has also been a corresponding Luddite pushback that has occurred. Now that we have the benefit of hindsight and forethought, how do we adapt to it? How do we prepare for it? And tied into that, is a universal basic income a stopgap measure, or is it a sustainable initiative?
Fantastic question. Okay, who'll venture to answer that?
Very good question, you know, and that I think two parts to it, right? So one is, of course, on the universal basic income, which is, I think I'll excuse myself to answer it. It's actually a difficult answer to divulge. But on the previous, the first question was more around that the change, the reduction in the middle management, and that's going to happen, right? As the concept is going on career management or the career managers rather than a people manager who is just a postmaster. So the postmaster's job is going out. There is no pure people management role. You need to be an SME and managing some group of people in a matrix environment. So that would definitely have less people required for that middle role, but you may end up working with many different people who may be your project managers. So that's the shift, right? And that's where you would need probably people who are more SMEs, because I may be a career manager for, let's say, 5 of you, but I'm a project manager for 10 of you, which I'm working on, and that's how I provide my value and relevancy as well.
Say, whichever level are you in, I think change is constant. So be it Industrial Revolution 4.0 or be it Industrial Revolution 5.0, I think change is constant. If we don't change ourselves, well, we will become a dinosaurs or something like HMT.
I think let me put a perspective to it. See, the change is of what kind of roles that's happening. See, roboticization will take place only in those things which are programmable and predictable. That machines will definitely do more efficiently. So that's the level of transaction that we are doing. We are doing certain strategic things and at the portfolio level. So there are 3 levels of human interventions or jobs or work or whatever it is all across the globe. So what will happen to those transactional roles? They might as well go away. And as it's been said so well, that what you'll do is that more strategic, more human. So you'll be driving the driverless cars not by holding the steering, but by determining the destination of the car. So we people will have to enrich ourselves, enlarge our roles, in fact, use our creativity, right part of brain, creativity, parallel thinking processes, design thinking. So do things which we were meant to do, humans were meant to do. 250 years of industrialization has actually dehumanized us, because we were meant to do menial transactional jobs and assembly line operations, which actually took away the worth of the work. In today's context, when we talk of digital natives like you, the worth of the work is itself the most important element of engagement. So unless and until you are challenged by your work, so we humans have got used to doing jobs of a peon, jobs of drivers. So if driver's job is done away with, just look at the drudgery involved with that job. So I think that's the way change is going to happen. Nothing to be afraid about, but provided you actually adapt, upgrade, modify and change yourself.
Thank you. So there was a lady behind that. Yes. Right at the back.
Sorry, that universal basic income issue is something which I think will require a larger discussion, because it has 2-3 aspects to it. The capitalist, the new capitalist mode, in fact, the socialist mode. What is the idea of work? How does it get rewarded? And basically what inspires people or what motivates people. So there's a complicated one. We can talk it off this thing, stage.
That's a polite way of saying that we may not have the answer. Okay.
I have the answer, by the way, so that.
I'm joking. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Devika, and I'm from first year HR batch. So my question is that since AI and technology is taking over many things, many jobs, why is it majorly HR which feels vulnerable and threatened?
Excellent.
Why is it we feel it? Because if you have coders, there are coders and programmers whose job are being taken over, but why only HR department feels threatened?
So I'm just mentioning, sorry.
It's not just HR.
No. So as I go back into my memory, I spent about 12 years with Airtel, and when I started, incoming was also charged that time, by the way. So, So HR was doing all sorts of job. You had a dedicated person for birthday messages. You had dedicated person for giving PF responses. You had dedicated person for doing all sorts of job. Today, when I see HR jobs, they are much more quality. Now, this is not the end state. It's further moving, right? So, at the end of it, I see a better state today compared to that time when there were so many jobs, but they were not quality jobs. I still see, right? They are more transactional. Today, I see them more quality in terms of they are core linked to business strategy.
The question is, why HR more worried?
So, my counter question is why HR should be worried when the job quality is going up, right? We don't want quantity, right? At the end of it, the people who are doing transactional roles were stuck somewhere. And I could see them having a really bad offboarding from the organization at some stage, right? When they became, redundant, because they were not developing and growing, right? So HR actually should not be worried because it's improving the state of HR. A lot of people, my colleagues, I see from Airtel, today they are big time entrepreneurs. They are serving small time organizations in multiple ways of HR, right? So if you see, it's not only growing in the organization, but they've grown as HR professionals who are serving multiple organizations, right? So why should HR be worried?
And I think there's one element all the time, Siddharth, what's happening? HR is what? HR department, HR function, or HR is human resource, the people element, everybody in the organization who's a human being. So we confuse that, the role of HR. If you change what you said so beautifully, is that, from the jobs of life cycle management, if there's a transactional job, ERPs can handle it better anyway. So let them handle. Predictable, programmable. But what is required, if you can always make yourself more enriched and enlarged in scope, you are an analyst to business, as an intervention specialist, have the right interventions, root cause analysis, separating the disease from the symptoms, change managers and evaluators. That's a perfect role for human resource managers who were so far. So, because right now the point is that every line manager is a human resource manager. So the whole job definition, the whole context of human resource management, you can't manage people. In this classroom, anybody wants to be managed or self-managed? You have the answer. So human resource management has to be reviewed. So the whole point is that you have to keep facilitating people, that's all. In a world where I said you let them fail, there's an innovative culture, there's a culture of robustness, there's a culture of entrepreneurship, there's a culture of creativity, which is allowed to gender. There will be no redundancy and nobody will fear the failure or being misplaced or outplaced by machines.
Right, thank you. How much time do we have? Just how many? Last question? Huh? 5 minutes, okay. Let's see how many questions we can take in that 5 minutes. Yes, sir. Yeah, in the front row. Yes.
People will lose out to job. So due to this, there's a sense of insecurity among the workforce and also an increased sense of competition to stand out and to remain in the company or an industry. So how, as an HR leaders, you'll make sure that this doesn't hamper the team spirit or the effectiveness of the individual?
You mean the insecurity of losing your job?
Yes.
Because a lot of people will lose the job, as you said, are transactional jobs. Who would want to answer?
So if you're going to remain lazy, then you will definitely lose your job. So I think that's important. So I think that's very important. You need to be very feet forward in terms of what you intend to do, and agile as well. You need to, as I said, learn and unlearn, and be a lifelong learner. As long as you're that, I think there is no dearth of opportunities. Of course, the job you're doing today, you may not be doing tomorrow, but as long as you're ready to do the future job by going through that learning cycle, I think it's all secured. Of course, transactional jobs would go. It's like, go back to the banking days, right? So you had a teller sitting behind the desk and the huge queue of people to take cash, right? Now that job for more or less doesn't exist. You have ATM cards, but that guy is now being reskilled to do a more better CRM role. So, but the point is, it's on us. The onus is on us. It has to be internalized. You can't make anybody else drive it for you.
Right. Thank you. Anybody else wants to take a shot at it?
One aspect. The plus side is that you get quality jobs. The flip side is you have to be less lazy and more agile, right? So that's what is the key. Reskill. Again, you keep upgrading yourself. That you don't have a choice now, right? So that's
and agility means, nimble-footedness, adapting, upgrading, every time, being comfortable with ambiguity also. So we have long lived with certainty. In fact, inherently the world is uncertain.
Yeah. Hookah.
No, inherently even Heisenberg said, the world is inherently uncertain. We were looking for certainty which was not there. And we long lived with this unverified assumption. So learn to get more comfortable, taking decisions in a state of semi-dark. There'll never be a point of situation where you have all the information available. Some bit of risk-taking, some bit of science, some bit of heuristics. You are redefining the very algorithm of life. It's a very different world which you have to adapt, and it's a very comfortable world. You know, it gives you so much of power. You know, if you hear and talk about, Siddharth, the quantum computing today, Moore's law was something like, you know, it is doubling the processing capacity every 18 months. Now, quantum computing does it in a single moment. Elon Musk says that he will not believe in transportation. He's even given Hyperloop to everybody. He says, I'll transpose myself. Now, mind my words, I'm not joking. He says that I'll transpose myself to the moon within a second flip of just a button.
Wow.
And that's quantum computing. You
Right.
just see to
That
it.
takes us to the very last question now. Okay, maybe we can come to the professor in the end. But okay, quickly. And a quick answer, okay?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Akshat, and I'm a first-year student of PhD in HR batch. So my question is, everybody's talking about how everyone is preparing for Industry 4.0. So while we have multinationals who have a large amount of people working for them, they might be interested in investing a lot of money into adopting certain practices such as artificial intelligence. But what about the business groups or the companies that do not have that amount of funding? Why would they want to invest in something such as artificial intelligence and replace their basic HR functions from those people who are performing them right now?
Right. Great question. If you don't have the resources, do you still go ahead and invest in it?
And the new bankruptcy law has made it more difficult for those people. so the point is actually, if you don't have a choice. Either you stay today or you just perish for tomorrow. So I think that's what it is. It's about survival, you know. So if those companies want to survive, they how to do that. Of course, the scale is going to be different. So we're not saying that, you know, you have to go and buy a product which SAP is, has for human HCM. You have homegrown, entrepreneurial-driven products which you can use for transformation. So it's about the scale and the how much money you have in your pocket, but the intention needs to be there with the intent.
Okay, right. You have the last word, sir.
I'm not a professor. I'm an accidental academic.
Okay.
So, very quick one.
We are accidental HR professionals.
All right. So we've been talking about a lot about skills, and there was a list of skills which talked about empathy, curiosity, patience, diversity. Can we really teach curiosity and patience? Because coming from the fact that a lot of challenge which a lot of MOOCs are facing is the completion rate. Companies are ready to invest. They're ready to make that investment in learning, development, bite-sized learning, newer models, digital innovation, transformation, design thinking, whatever it may be. The problem lies in the completion rate. Hardly 3 to 5% of the people who take up that
So
assignment.
we don't have finishers, you mean?
Yes. So the curiosity to learn from the executive side is something which is not there. Then how do we design a course which is on curiosity and make them curious to finish that course?
Which is true actually, and it's really happening, and and
it's open to all of you.
And that's something which I
I'm
think
glad.
we are grappling with, where the completion rates are not there, but so somebody has to walk the talk, right? So in this case, the leadership has to walk the talk. So and something which we are trying to mandate it, like for something I've done it. I was sharing with some of our colleagues some time back. I've done myself a RPA certification on Blue Prism. Now that's important because if I don't do it, how can I showcase myself as a person to whom a follower can follow? So there needs to be a followership. I think do it yourself before preaching somebody else do that. So that's one of the ways I can look at it.
I think, Mr. Nagpal, the point is that in organizations give signal to the competencies, to the behaviors that they want to encourage. So if curiosity is encouraged and lack of curiosity is discouraged, over a period of time you will have a more curious organization. That's your way of reinforcing. So if curiosity is valued, is reinforced, is recognized, and lack of curiosity, people who just don't say anything, who want to learn new things, if that is discouraged, you might build up. And the culling, he's a ace recruiter. So if you recruit only on the basis of curiosity, or curiosity is a major competency to recruit, then you will slowly build organizations which are more curious. That's my two-bit.
No, absolutely. And something more to add, it has to do with our education system, right? It has a very rote learning kind of a format, and that does not fuel curiosity, right? So, and that's something from the formative years at the schooling, we need to think about as an organization.
More conforming.
Yeah. So I think that would help in, adding the curiosity question.
All right. Thank you very much, very, very much. Please give a very big hand to this illustrious panel. All good things come to an end, and we might have overshot it by a couple of minutes. I think it was, ladies and gentlemen, who would have enjoyed the discussion. I certainly did. I just want to give you a small anecdote. I was watching an ad for a beer. Are we allowed to discuss liquor in this class? All right. So Miller or whatever beer it was, and it's a very small ad of 10 seconds. I'll take 15 seconds to describe it. So there is a couple which is running on a early morning street, and then suddenly a robo starts running with them, and the robo outruns them, obviously. And then this couple goes to the gym and they tries to lift weight, and the robo is lifting weights with them, and obviously he lifts 10 times the weight that they can lift. Then they go and play a golf match, and he hits a ball far farther than any one of them can hit. And then in the evening, they go to a bar, and the camera zooms in to this couple enjoying a chilled glass of beer. Are you offering beer at the end of the program? Okay, a chilled glass of beer in the restaurant. The couple is having this along with their friends, and this robo with this, the LED lights twinkling, is very sorry to do that. And the ad comes in. It's saying, "It's worth it if you can enjoy it." Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Industry 4.0 is worth it if you can enjoy it. Do not take the humanity, the enjoyment, the passion out of it. Okay? Don't become numeric. Don't make it a numeric thing. Make it something more romantic. Thank you very much for this interactive discussion, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
On behalf of everyone present here, especially the HR Club, I express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Siddharth Tuli, Ms. Shruti Jaiswal, Mr. Rajiv Bhadoria, Mr. Vikas Khokha, Ms. Kamalika Deka, Mr. Rajesh Tripathi, and Mr. Akshay Mathur for taking out time from their busy schedule and sharing their thought-provoking insights with all of us today. Post this session, we feel relatively more aware and equipped to understand and subsequently bring about innovative practices in today's business environment.
Now we would like to present the speakers for this session with a small token of our gratitude. I would like to request Mr. Siddharth Tuli to give the mementos to our speakers. Ms. Shruti Jaiswal, ma'am, we are honored to have you with us today. Please accept the memento as a token of our gratitude. Mr. Rajiv Bhadoria, sir, it was a privilege listening to you today. Kindly accept the memento as a gesture of our gratitude.
Rajiv didn't realize he was so handsome. and for a very power-packed session, full of nuggets of wisdom. Thank you very much. Shruti, right? Yes, that's Thank you, Shruti.
Mr. Vikas Khoka, sir, we are honored to have you with us today. Please accept the memento as a token of our gratitude.
Technology will change by that time.
Thank you. I would make your feedback and then you'll thank you.
Ms. Kamalika Deka, ma'am, we are grateful to listen to your thoughts and experiences today. Kindly accept the memento as a gesture of our gratitude.
Interventions, and we really liked your participation.
Mr. Rajesh Tripathi, sir, it was a pleasure having you with us today. Kindly accept the memento as a gesture of our gratitude. Mr. Akshay Mathur, sir, it was a privilege listening to you today. Kindly accept the memento as a gesture of our gratitude.
So your mustache is looking even sharper in this.
Yeah, that's why I need to stop.
Now I would like to call the Secretary of the HR Club, Akshay Pandey, to present a token of our gratitude to the moderator of the day, Mr. Siddharth Tuli. So it was a pleasure having you today as our guest. Kindly accept the memento.
Please show the picture.
This way.
Thank you very much. It's very well organized. Give us a big hand to us.
So you would need take a photo with the book.
Okay, all right.
Yes, please.
Only the book? So
Our faces as well.
all right. Yes. Okay, let's come. Come, Shruti.
Can I carry my book as well?
That's the difference. You should not carry.
Oh, okay.
You
I
should.
like your idea.
You should. Yeah, you should. You should. Okay, done.
Okay now.
Now that I have.
There's a second release of the book today. So this is brand promotion and
Yeah. Remember the beer? The enjoyment part. Thank you guys for being so patient.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude the session of the HR Summit today. We are sure that the session has been very enlightening for each one of us present here. I would like to take this opportunity to commend all the guests, participants, speakers, professors, students, and staff of IMI for making the session an unparalleled success, as well as the media partners for covering the event. We would like to thank the Corporate Relations Committee, the Alumni Relations Committee, and the Fine Arts Society for their continuous support for organizing the summit. We would also like to thank our freshness partner, Fresca, for helping us in this endeavor through the sponsorship video.
Fresca, the pioneer in the nectar space, has made a niche for itself. Since its inception back in the year 2004, the journey was humble with our very own lime water that clicked with the customer straight away. Let's forward the time to 2010 and Fresca introduced two new flavors in the market, mango and the delicate yet sweet lychee. Fresca, through its valor, has managed to become one of the fastest growing brand. Remarkably, our juices are closest to the taste of fruits, and above all, Mr. Akhil Gupta, MD of Fresca, carries that legacy of taste inherited from his forefathers. Mechanized system has two lines with consistent operations with a capacity of 300 bottles per minute. Aseptic packing unit. Lime water glass filling unit. Sense of nature in every drop of Fresca.
Thank you all. We would request the guests to proceed to the lobby area for tea and refreshments, and the students are requested to please stay back.
Your beer will be served here.
Just one liner.
Yes, sir. Yeah. How can the program be?
So दोस्तों ये प्रोग्राम ख़त्म हो रहा है तो बस एक शेर इस प्रोग्राम के ख़त्म होने पे कि बात कम कीजिए जहानत को छुपाते रहिए, बात कम कीजिए जहानत को छुपाते रहिए, ये नया शहर है कुछ दोस्त बनाते रहिए. थैंक यू.